All right, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to talk about how money responds to identity and if you are money compatible. So, Arash, so many clients come to us, listeners of the podcast, clients of any of our programs, and one of the main things that they want is they want to earn more money. Do you think that everyone is compatible with earning more money?
No. Number one, if they were compatible, if it was their mental equivalent, they'd be earning more money. What most people don't understand is money has to do with how you think. And it's all identity based. Money is not rewarded by effort. There's a lot of people working really hard. I watch it every day. I just go outside my house. There's new homes being built. Those people are working really hard for their money. But your income can only rise to the level of your emotional state and your behaviors that are consistent and can hold. So I remember when I wanted to earn more money, I went to dinner one night with, at this time, the most successful person I had ever met. And I was failing at this time. And I said, "What is the trick around money?" And he said, "You have to be comfortable with the idea of money." And I thought I was really proud. I'm like, "Look, I'm comfortable." I had a screensaver with money on it because I really wanted to change me and my wife's life at that point because we didn't have kids yet. And he said, "Well, how much are you earning?" And I said, "Nothing. I'm starting over." He said, "Well, you're not comfortable with the idea." And I walked away because the answer wasn't good enough for me. I didn't understand it. But I started thinking about what he said. And I was like, well, the results always tell the truth. He's right. So I needed to get more comfortable with the idea of money. So I had to change from the inside out. See, most people are chasing money where they should be chasing their greatness. They should be chasing getting better every day, but they're chasing the wrong rabbit. And what happens is when I was the most unfulfilled, miserable point in my life was when I was chasing money. So I didn't understand the rules of money. I remember one day I was listening to Earl Nightingale. He said, the key with money is nobody earns a lot of money until they decide to earn a lot of money. Well, going back to that meeting, I realized I had never decided. I was chasing it. It was a comfortable obsession for me, but I wasn't changing from the identity level. Once I changed from the identity level, money just started pouring in. Like it just chased me down.
That's such a good point because I think so many people can relate to it. They may want more, but they are settling for whatever life is willing to give them. And that's exactly what we mean by money compatible. Like that attitude of settling is not a money compatible state. So anyone can be money compatible, but there's certain things that you have to put in place to be that way. And what would you say those are?
Well, number one, you have to have great confidence. Number two, money has to be neutral. It can't be a unhealthy obsession. And number three, you've got to heal your money wounds. So we got to ask the questions. Like I had to heal my money wounds. But like, what triggers you when you spend money? Like, do you release it freely? If you're not releasing it freely, you don't have a neutral identity towards money. Mm-hmm. See, we're the source. We're the source of wealth. Wealth comes from us, not to us. So if we're looking at it and we're not comfortable emotionally with it, we're not going to draw it into our life. So everybody can look at what they're comfortable with money. Just look at your financial blueprint. Look at what you're earning every year. Look at where your investment accounts are. Look at how much money you have in your bank account. I saw this study, and it's so appalling to me that the average person in America, like 78% of Americans, have less than $1,000 in their savings account. I mean, that is a terrible stat.
Yeah.
And I get it because I 21 years ago was not even at the 1,000 level. But you don't want anyone to decide what you can earn. That's the first rule you've got to have. And number two, you've got to commit to becoming obsessed with your personal development. That's when money is going to start pouring in. And people are like, oh, because I read a book, money is going to come in. Not because you read a book, but when you have great direction and start identifying the behaviors, that's where everything is going to change. Now, I remember this when I started getting into this work. One of the first books I read was Think and Grow Rich. My favorite book is The Science of Getting Rich. But one of the things I became aware of, my favorite books on wealth, when you go in, if you just go to the chapters in the books, none of them have any chapters around money. They're all based on behaviors. They're all based on service. And you're not going to earn more money if you're not operating in harmony with the law of compensation. The law of compensation states that we get paid in direct proportion to the service we render, the need for it in the marketplace, and our ability to do it. But the most important part of that law is our ability to do it. We've got to put in the 10,000 hours in getting so good at our skill set and getting so good at our mindset. You mix that, you're never going to have to worry about money the rest of your life.
Quick pause because this is important. Today is a big day for us, and especially Arash. Arash's brand new book, Transform, officially launches today. This book isn't motivation or theory. It's the exact process we've watched change lives, businesses, confidence, and standards over and over again. If you've been feeling like you know you're meant for more, but you're done playing at the surface, this book is for you. You can grab Transform right now on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. All right, back to the episode.
You know, Arash, at the beginning of the episode, I said money responds to identity. And so I want to make this distinction because we're not talking about extreme poverty versus extreme wealth. There are levels of the compatibility of money that you're bringing into your own life. Like you might be compatible up to your current level, but you're not compatible to your goals level. And so what do you do to keep raising your level of identity and compatibility with money?
All right. Since you're using the word compatibility.
I love that word.
Okay. What we want to give them as a clear definition.
Sure.
Compatibility is behavioral, not intellectual. So it's at the behavior level. So what we have to do is whatever we want in our life, we have to create the mental equivalent. So scarcity is out of harmony with compatibility. Lack is out of compatibility, right? So we have to start eliminating lack and limitation from our life. And in order to eliminate it, we have to observe where it is showing up in our life. Why am I accepting it? And most people are accepting it because this is just how it's always been. But decisions are what create abundance or what creates lack. Abundance demands us to be bold. Like if you're overthinking money decisions, then you're coming from lack. See, the only decision you make around money is this going to get me to how I want to live? If it's a yes, you say yes to it. Even if you don't have the money, people are like, well, what if I don't have the money? You go find the money. When you make a decision, your mind will show you how you can, not why you can't. But you've got to make abundance normal in your life. That's why I don't like making anything too big. You just make it normal. This is just who you are. Yeah. When you make abundance normal, you start being aware of abundance everywhere. Like I'm looking at the studio we're in right now. There's abundance all around us. Like if you start identifying it with the little things, the big things are going to come.
Do you think that scarcity shows up at a high level? And if so, in what ways does it show up?
Oh, it's a problem. It's a massive problem in the world. 98% of the people are struggling. Why? Because they're in scarcity. It shows up in not willing to act on decisions. It shows up on not going after bigger goals. It shows up on not allowing someone to have amazing experiences. Even if they have the money, they're afraid to lose it, so they hold on to it so tightly. It shows up in people's language. It shows up on people hating the people who are winning. So it shows up in so many ways. But the biggest way it shows up is playing your life not to lose. That's the biggest way it shows up. That is the biggest form of scarcity.
Yeah. Arash, a lot of people, whenever they're setting a big goal, there's this $1 million mark, right? Like, I want to create $1 million. I want to hit the 7-figure mark. And you tell the story. You can even tell it now if you want to. About when you hit that, you didn't even realize it, but it also wasn't as big of a deal as you thought it was going to be. No confetti fell from the ceiling. Nobody threw a party. But people that are earning 6, 7, 8 figures, they all relate to money differently. How do they relate to money differently? And how can you get more comfortable with the idea of money?
Yeah, number one, I never had a goal to earn 7 figures. I had a goal to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Well, as I started developing myself at the identity level, I raised my standards. I started changing my behaviors. Money became easy to earn. And like I always say, money's easy to earn. But a lot of people don't understand that. And I wouldn't, like if you talked to me 20 years ago, I wouldn't have said it was easy to earn. The people earning 6 figures are chasing money. They're using a lot of effort. It's easier to earn 7 figures than it is 6 figures. Now, people, when I say that, they get triggered. Why it's easier to earn? Because you built systems. The bigger the goal, the easier it is to earn, because you've already gotten to this place now where you know what's possible and you have systems in place. The 8 figures is about leadership. That's where the difference is. 7 figures, the 7-figure earner could still be grinding to 7 figures, a commission-based salesperson. They hunt whatever they get, right? But when you get to 8 figures, it's about leadership. It's about leverage. So there's a very different mentality from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures.
Is there a specific identity that expands income or expands the idea of income?
Yeah, confidence. And not worrying about what other people think. Behaving before you're ready. Doing it now. Those are the greatest ones that took me from failing, having a foreclosure sticker on my garage, to earning 7 figures in 2 years. Like, I always tell people, and they'll come back to me a month later, and these same people said, you told me to do it now, to behave before I was ready, stop worrying about what people think. Because those were the 3 things I did, and I learned selling. That was like one of the best skills I ever learned. Mm-hmm. Those 4, I said, just master those 4, you're going to earn 7 figures. They come back a month later, they go, I forgot to do it. You didn't want it bad enough. Remember, no one earns a lot of money until they decide they're going to earn a lot of money.
Yep. Arash, are there certain thoughts, behaviors, attitudes that are unknowingly repelling money?
Attachment, letting the outside control you, worrying about what people think, always looking at what's wrong, looking at what's missing. See, we have to have a money standard, Mike. A money standard is, this is where my desire is, and this is where my current income is. I'm only coming from the desired state. I'm only focusing on why I can, and I'm focusing on getting better. Money has nothing to do with the currency. It has everything to do with where we are inside. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I want everybody to experience 7 figures. I want everyone to experience 8 figures if that's what they want for themselves. But do you know that takes massive transformation on a personal level? That's why most people don't understand money. That's why they're chasing. That's why people are doing things the wrong way. But if you just work on you and become obsessed with getting better, become obsessed with raising your standards, become obsessed with creating a new identity, you're going to see opportunities you never saw before. The person who's earning $100,000 a year, they're not earning 100 because that's what they're capable of. They're earning 100 because that's what they're aware of. But because that's what they're aware of, they keep attracting $100,000 opportunities. The person who creates a money consciousness, so they're thinking and feeling from, let's use an example of $1 million, because you used the $1 million example. They're going to attract opportunities that are aligned with that million. Now, their job, attracting it isn't the big thing. It's acting on them. It's developing your skill set. You've got to understand there's one skill set that is going to take somebody from 100 a year to 100 a month. And you've got to define what that skill set is. I told you, for me, it was learning how to sell. We're selling ourselves every day. We're selling ourselves on how the day is going to go. We're selling ourselves on the ideas we get emotionally involved with, whether that's what we want or what we don't want. So selling is not just selling an idea, product, or service. It's selling ourselves that we're capable. And if you talk about compatibility, what you're really using is becoming the mental equivalent to what we want. How does that person think? Who does that person hang out with? What type of ideas does that person act? What have they eliminated? I can tell you they've eliminated procrastination. They've eliminated planning to plan. They're behaving before they're ready, and opportunities just keep showering in their lives.
I want to pause the episode just for a moment because I don't want you to miss this. Today, Arash's brand new book, Transform, is officially live. And I'll tell you this honestly, this isn't just a book he wrote, this is the work he lives. And when you read the pages, you'll feel like Arash is right there in the room speaking directly to you. I've watched people walk into a room doubting themselves and walk out operating at an entirely different standard because of these exact principles. If you're ready to stop waiting, stop circling the same goals, and actually become the version of you who gets results, this book will meet you right where you are and take you anywhere you want to go. You can grab Transform right now on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. All right, let's jump back in.
We've used the word money a lot in this episode. We talked about money compatibility at the beginning of the show. That word, as far as we've talked about in this entire episode, is completely interchangeable with abundance, freedom, opportunities, wealth. We said money, but any of those could easily be interchanged.
It could be with health.
Yeah.
It could be with a skill set, any skill set you want. But money follows leadership. The people who have significant amount of money, they're great leaders. So all you have to do is say, okay, I'm going to decide to become a great leader, but who do you have to lead? You have to lead yourself. You can't lead anybody until you lead yourself, but you've got to understand you're the source of wealth. Wealth always flows from you, not to you. So if I'm coming from scarcity, I'm repelling wealth. And money is shy and timid. It must be attracted by the person we become. Now, people listen to this, they go, oh, thoughts are things. I promise you, they're very important things. But who you become on an internal level is what you're going to receive in the world.
What level of importance does personal responsibility play in what we're discussing right now?
Well, if you're a victim, you're coming from lack.
Mhm.
So extreme ownership is what I connect with personal responsibility, where you take all the power back. With the person who's a victim is just putting scarcity out into the world. So you're going to attract scarcity back to you. So when you understand you're the only problem, you're the only solution, now you're coming from abundance. So one of the things that I want everybody to do is really put a high priority on your thinking. You are deciding to think lack. Nobody can make you think lack. So you have to train yourself how to think relentlessly, abundantly. And you want to start thinking like within a second, like, no, this doesn't work. This is the old me. When doubt comes in, doubt is what activates scarcity. So when doubt comes in, say, no, this was my old self. And every time you acknowledge that, you're rewiring yourself into the new version of you that is abundant.
Do you think that there are internal shifts that are required for expanded income
Oh,
opportunities?
for sure. Of course. You have to be willing to do things you've never done before. That's an internal shift. You have to say, I'm not ready. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. I remember when I first started creating significant wealth compared to where I was, I would get opportunities. I didn't ask. I was like, I'm going to figure out the way. I just started just being willing to do it. The doing is what creates the visceral experience. Emerson says the doing is what gives you the power. He doesn't say the reading. He doesn't say the studying. It's the doing. See, I was studying before, but I wasn't doing. So it was very incomplete and it wasn't compatible to where I wanted to go. Well, what created the compatibility? I still was studying, but now I was studying with acting. Now it became compatible and everything started working in my favor.
Raj, I think a lot of people listening to this can relate to creating a little bit of success or creating improved results and then feeling like they've doubled down. Maybe they're even grinding, they're working harder, but their results have stalled. They're not continuing to grow. Why is that?
Because they never change their identity. So a lot of people will start getting an increase and then it goes back to their set point. But they're not understanding why. They didn't get to they didn't increase their set point, so they went back. But they didn't spend time to think, what caused me to increase my income? I've got to create those behaviors automatic where it's harder not to do than to do. I remember one day, I was mentoring a gentleman from Australia. He was a 7-figure earner, lost it all. And I said, well, what caused you to earn the 7 figures? And he said, I was in the right place at the right time. And I said, that tells me you don't know what you did. And I said, I never want you to be in that position again. And I told him, I said, if you'll do exactly what I tell you for 6 months, you go in and do what I tell you for 6 months, you're going to be back to 7 figures. Well, he did it and he was back to 7 figures. But this time I made sure he knew what he did.
Mm-hmm.
See, before he didn't know what he did, so he lost it. Well, he never changed his identity. He was good at his skill set, but he wasn't good at the mindset. See, mindset is 95% of success, but we've got to get really good at our skill set. We've got to put deliberate practice at our skill set where we are working on it every day, until it's harder not to do it than to do it. And that's where the money's going to follow. What does it follow? Always follows leadership.
Yes. So, Arash, you talk about skill set there and how it's 95% mindset, 5% skill set. And that's not to diminish skill set. Skill set is important. But if you don't build the idea of yourself, you're never going to create better results, even if you tripled, quadrupled your skill set value.
Never. I mean, everything is mindset. That's why I said. But when you're building your mindset, your skill set gets immensely better. Like everything follows the mind. Wherever I put my attention, my mind's going to go. So if I put it on really becoming so freaking good at what I do, that's why when I train our clients, I always train them, you're the best in the world at what you do. Even when they are just starting, I train them that they're the best in the world, that they see themselves with a bigger idea of themselves. And what happens? They start becoming the best in the world.
So good. Arash, thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you next week with another episode on the Seven Figure Standard podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.